Hey guys, welcome to the JAV Show. This is Viv, and this week we are doing another solo podcast. I find that in the summer times, it can sometimes get a little difficult for Alvin and I to schedule a Friday to be able to record a podcast. So sometimes we need to double record or we need to do a solo podcast and we just can't get our schedules to align. And so this week, you will be hearing an episode from Alvin and an episode from me where we answer the same questions and do it the same way as you've already heard in our previous solo podcast. This week, I think that questions are actually pretty interesting. We have 8 questions this time for us to answer, and all really different. And I'm really interested to hear how Alvin responds to these questions and to hear some of your guys' responses back. This week, I am going on a hike to Canmore. I actually really fucking hate hikes. I think the view is really nice, but on the way there, I just feel like you're exhausted the whole time, and I'm not really a stamina type of person. I'm more of a one and done, one and go, then you can do it again type of person, kind of like when you lift. But I feel like going on hikes, you really need to work on your mental and your stamina. It's really a lot of mental. But I will never say no to a hike because I feel like it's great work. It's a great workout and you get to be in the outdoors, you get to hang out with friends. My favorite parts about these trips are being able to stay with your friends and bond with them, hang out with them, and just get to know everyone a little bit more. So I'm really excited to go on this trip. And because of this trip, Alvin and I need to record a solo pod. So without further ado, let's answer some of these questions. I believe Alvin probably answered the questions in the order of my first 4 and then his 4. So that's going to start off with the first question, which is, how would you restructure the world if money did not exist? I think this is a really tough question, but I feel like it's possible in some ways. You have to have a really tight and somewhat strict structure to this, because I believe that everyone has different values in life. Everyone has different goals and different things that they want out of life. So you need something universal that'll motivate everyone to be able to get the resources, get what they need, be able to afford whatever they want in their life, whether that's a house, whether that's a surfboard to live on the beach forever, whether that's a designer bag or medicine or money for travel, food, whatever you want it to be. Everyone has different needs, priorities, wants, goals. So money is actually a really great thing that has been invented in order for there to be some structure, because I get that back in the day they had the old trading post system where you're like, hey, can I trade my hide for 2 buckets of berries, please? And you're like, yeah, I would say that's fair. But then I'm sure we have all learned back in elementary school how eventually that kind of gets monopolized and it just doesn't really work in the large scheme of things. So money is actually a great thing. I feel that allows the world to be structured and organized in this way. But if it did not exist, then I would think that you would need a lot more stricter societal rules, because a lot of people, nobody wants to work on something that they don't need to work for. So I feel like a lot of people out there have jobs that they aren't passionate about, jobs that they don't get personally rewarded for outside of monetary values and where it can bring them and what it can do for them in other areas of their life. So if you took the value of money out of that, then the people would need to find some sort of reward for doing that job. And I think that's very, very hard to specifically find people who are intrinsically motivated to do their job without any other reward in other areas. So like you work as a nurse because it pays you so that you can afford to live and afford all the other expenses in your life. But let's say money did not exist. Why would you want to be a nurse unless you personally find so much reward in taking care of people? And let's say, yeah, you do find reward in taking care of people. But let's say that, okay, tomorrow you want a lazy day. If you don't need the money, you don't need the career, why would you go? But your patients would still need you. So you would need, like, from an objective view, whoever is organizing this shit would need somebody. They would need you to want to go for some way, somehow. And I feel like the only way for us to organize things like this is that you have to have something in place of money. Like, I know the question is, how would you restructure the world if money did not exist? You have to have something very equivalent to money. Now, I'm not going to say, okay, money doesn't exist, but let's just say we use points. That's essentially the same thing. And I think that would be an easy fluke out or just not really answering the question. But I would say maybe it's something like, okay, whatever you do, you need to do 30 hours of contribution towards your little group in society this week, each week. And outside of that, then you have all your basic needs covered for, and then you get to pick 2 wants each week. I don't know, something like that. Some sort of system like that where, say, you are moved into little smaller groups of society. Within your society, you have rules for how each person is managed. This seems very capitalist or very utilitarian, but I feel like if there is nothing in the world that is like money, then you have to have some sort of rule in place to make sure that people still contribute to the things that needs to be done in society. You could be a passionate nurse, but it's hard to find people who are consistently, undyingly passionate towards whatever roles that you need to be covered in your society. So say you have a little society, have it be 50 people, and that society, each week, you need to contribute 30 hours of you need to have 30 hours of contribution towards your society. And those 30 hours, each week you need a certain amount of people in each area of work. So, for example, you need 10 people in food and farming, 10 people in cleaning and housing. You need 10 people in medical and health. You need 10 people in mental and business. I don't fucking know. And 10 people in other miscellaneous tasks. So in your 50-person group, each week you're like, okay, I need I don't know. I'm just thinking on the fly here, guys. You need, each week at the beginning of the week, you're like, I really want to work in the food and farming this week, so I need to sign up before 10 people already sign up. And then, okay, for the health part, only people that have a certain background can join the health part. So, okay, if you want to join the health part next week, you need to make sure that you get training on this, blah, 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 blah. And as long as you meet your 30 hours of contribution hours, then you have all your basic needs met. You get your 2 wants of the week. Say, oh yeah, I want to go paddleboarding this week. Let me go tell the upper committee that I need a paddleboard. So they'll be like, oh yes, this is your one want for the week. We'll supply you a paddleboard. Blah, 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 blah. You know, something like that. I get that this would obviously have some pros and cons, but thinking on the fly, that's what I would think would need to happen if the world didn't have money. It kind of reminds me of the movie Divergent, where I don't recall if they had money or not, but they divided their society into groups where your main quality that stands out, the main quality that stands out the most in your personality is the group that you belong to. So you could be a divergent, Divergent is someone that has so many qualities. You're an amazing person, but you can be in candor, you love honesty, you can, I don't remember the other ones, but you know, you get the gist. Or, yeah, I believe that's something that would have to happen if money didn't exist in the world. You would definitely need more stricter society rules so that people still contribute to the things and the work that needs to be done for society to run. And if you didn't meet your 30 hours each week, then let's say you only get one want. And maybe your society doesn't run that well if everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. I can live off of only one want this week. Okay. Let's say if you fail to meet your 30 hours of contribution hours this week by 10, that takes away one want. Okay. Let's say you fail to do that by 15 hours, half your man hours. Okay. We need to have some sort of punishment, I feel, or else you won't be a contributing member of society. So then 2 meals a day instead of 3. I don't know what it is. I think that money is something that allows everyone to have their unique differences and differences in what you want out of life, how you build your life, where you go in life, your needs, your wants, without having all these society rules and without something that's as universal as money. I think it's very difficult to run a society without it. And this kind of reminds me of how when I watched Black Mirror, people had points, like society points, and I feel like that's very similar to money, but in Black Mirror, it was basically like popularity points where, oh my god, if you get this many likes, you get this many points in the day. If you smiled at your barista, you get more points, and society will allow you to access higher grade amenities because of this. I feel like I heard somewhere that China is doing something like that, and I don't actually think that this has anything to do with the replacement of money, but I would imagine that if you didn't have money in the world, then some ridiculous systems would be put in place like that just to ensure that people have some sort of control or structure. Who knows? Very curious how I'm going to answer this question and how any of you would answer this question. The second question is, what is a concept that took you a long time to understand or still don't understand? This is a question that I've had it explained to me so many times, but I always forget it. I like kind of understand the other perspective eventually, but every single time this question comes back into my head, I always need to think about it for quite a little while for me to remember the reasoning behind the other opinion. And this concept is a concept that I've talked to a few friends about, or they brought it up as, you know, just a conversation thing. And it's, are you somebody who thinks it's valuable to always know everything? Or are you somebody that thinks that sometimes it's better not to know? The question, or not the question, the concept wasn't worded exactly like that, but that's essentially the gist of the question. So do you always want to know everything, or you are okay with not knowing some things? And my stance on it is that I think that I would always want to know everything. I'd rather have people tell me the truth, even if it hurts, and let me know just how it is and what's what, over feeling like I'm under the impression of a lie, or that I'm believing something that isn't true. That is my first and foremost response. But I have definitely had some friends that have said that they would rather be the type of person who doesn't need to know everything that they don't need to know. So the person that I've had this conversation with a few times, which is somebody who I always also have many debates with just for the fun of it, would be one of my best friends, Jessica. So her defense on this is that she said sometimes she just doesn't need to know everything. The knowledge that she has on her life and the things in her life make her happy. And if there's something that she doesn't actually need to know that would make her upset, then she would rather just not know it than to ruin her facade of being happy. And I would come back and tell her, really? Why would you want to live a life where you're abstained from the truth? Like, wouldn't you rather know everything that you need to know and everything that's connected with you, so that you live a life that's more genuine and true? And the explanation that she would give me is that, imagine that you had a child and you raised the child until she was 4 years old, some random number. You loved her, life is amazing, you and your family are really happy, everything's just great. Life's been really happy, your child is growing up really healthily, your child listens to you, she's really well behaved, she's a great girl. Life is great as you know it. But then one day you go into the hospital and get a checkup with your child just to make sure that, you know, she's growing normally according to her age, everything is good. And the doctor tells you that this actually is not your child. This child doesn't match your DNA whatsoever, doesn't have the same background, and your baby must have been switched at birth. Now, the reason why I picked an age such as 4 years old is I feel like that's still somewhat early. But you've already developed a connection with the child. The child has already developed the connection with you. You guys have had a beautiful life together. You guys have made memories. The child knows your name. You know the child's name. This is your baby. From everything you know your daughter to be, this is your daughter. Up until 5 minutes ago, when the doctor said that this is not your baby. Your baby got swapped at the hospital the night you gave birth. What do you do now? Are you going to try to look for your baby? What do you do with this girl who you felt like was your daughter this whole time? Wouldn't that ruin so much for you and the life that you have been living? Versus, what if the doctor just never told you that? This girl grows up to a beautiful girl. You guys have a beautiful family. You make beautiful memories. You watch her go to school. You watch her learn how to ride a bike. She builds you some macaroni I love mom art at school. you could have an amazing life if the doctor just never told you that this wasn't biologically your daughter. And yeah, sure, some of you out there listening to this podcast might not even care. You might be like, at the end of the day, that's what I know my daughter to be. My definition of my daughter is this girl, regardless of whether she shares the same blood as me or not. But I feel like there are some of you that would be like, fuck, where is my real daughter? What do I do with that information when that doctor tells me that this daughter that I've been raising for 4 years isn't actually my daughter? And let's put a double whammy on it. Let's say that the doctor tells you that, hey, we actually know by testing her genetics or her fingerprints or whatever have you be it, we actually know where your real daughter is. She lives in the same city as you, obviously, because you guys were at the same hospital. She lives close to your house. You guys could contact one another. You could actually go see your real daughter. And legally, we could do something about it so that she actually is yours now. What do you do then? I feel like that would be a huge disruptance or chaos or upset in your life. To hear that kind of news and know that you have this new option of, hey, what do you do with this daughter that you've loved and grown for 4 years? Are you going to go find your actual biological daughter and raise her and take her in as your true daughter? What are you going to do with this other daughter? Give her back to her family that you guys accidentally swapped with? How would that impact their lives? Maybe they're just 4 years old, so it doesn't really matter. But what do you do then? Anyways, I think I'm diving too deeply into this daughter thing. But in this scenario, would you have been better off just not being told that news and just going on for the rest of your life, living happily, raising this daughter happily, having your family or whatever makes you happy, and just not knowing that news? Or in that second, would you have rather known the news so that you could have your actual biological daughter back? And I remember when my friend Jessica told me this stance, I was like, oh wow, that actually is really compelling, because I'm not sure what I would do in this sense. When it comes to having a daughter specifically, I think that there would be value in knowing who your biological daughter is, but family isn't just made by who you share blood with. It's people who you actively choose. And yes, you didn't choose this daughter that actually got swapped in birth, but this is the daughter you've come to know and love. So what do you do in that case? Now, we've had a few discussions with a few other examples for this concept of, would you rather know everything and be told everything, or are you okay with not knowing everything? And my friend Jessica stands fully on the point that she'd rather not know everything. If it disrupts her way of life and her peace, and it's going to cause more chaos than if she was just never known it, then she'd rather not know. And I know that my stance always first would be that I would want to know. But whenever I think more deeply into this and think about all the conversations that I've had with my friend Jessica, I can actually see myself in some scenarios thinking, yeah, I'd rather not know. Because I also believe, this is kind of related and kind of not, but I also believe that when you ask questions, if you're talking to anyone, when you ask questions in life, you should be ready to hear whatever answer will be given to you. So if you think about, oh, the answer could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If you're not ready to hear answers 4, 5, and 6, even if they're not likely, then don't fucking ask the question. You know, and by not being ready, it includes not wanting to believe it or not being ready to hear answers that are a little bit more harder, you know? And that would be like the baby scenario that I was just talking about. Imagine if you asked the doctor and you were like, hey, so my baby actually has a really fucking tall ass nose, and I don't have a tall nose, neither does my man, so could you just do a little DNA check? I want to see, maybe we have some ancestry in Sweden. And the doctor comes back and tells you, yeah, that baby is not yours at fucking all. You know, you should have been ready for that answer. So that's actually a concept that took me a really long time to understand. And sometimes I still don't really understand it if I don't think long and hard about some scenarios where I wouldn't want to know everything. But that was the main thing I wanted to share when it came to this question. And I'm very curious what Alvin's answer is. I'm guessing he did something a little bit more technical than philosophical. If we were talking about a concept that's still, or not still, a concept that's more technological, then I could say a lot of things, down to even saying that my body physically does not understand the concept of an approach sometimes in volleyball, because clearly I can't do it as efficiently as I need to. But on to the next question. The next question would be, do you believe in the afterlife? And what do you think happens after you die? So I am agnostic. I don't believe that there is a God, and I don't believe that there isn't a God. There could be and there couldn't be. I don't have any specific thoughts that support having a God, and I don't have any thoughts that support against having a God, or that it could or could not exist. And so when it comes to believing in an afterlife and what happens after you die, it's kind of mismatched, because I believe that the way that I see the afterlife is influenced by how I was raised. And I was raised as a Buddhist because both my parents are Buddhists, and everyone in my family, generally, like the parents and how everyone was raised in my generation, are raised as Buddhists on both sides of my family. And so I believe that the way that I view the afterlife is influenced by Buddhism, and that is that there is some sort of reincarnation that happens. Now, I don't specifically hardcore believe that, oh, when I die, I'm going to become a butterfly, or I'm going to reincarnate into this. I just think that, it's kind of a possibility. I don't think that when people die, they just completely cease to exist, that their last day on earth is their last day of existence in general. I kind of believe that you could be, just floating around somewhere. It's not specifically heaven that I believe in, but I don't think that people just cease to exist when they die. Now, I don't really believe in heaven, and I also don't really believe in hell. I don't think that if you were a bad person on earth, then you're damned to eternal suffering and torture in hell. And I don't think that if you're specifically a really good person on earth, then you'll be granted to go to heaven and you'll live a life of luxury and happiness for the rest of your existence. I believe more and so that after you die, you just kind of exist as a soul, as a ghost if you want to be, but more so just a soul that's just kind of, there. I don't want to say that you're there floating around earth. I can't really say that I believe that you exist as a soul above or below. It's more so just intertwined with our existence. Not really in between, not really above, through. It's just, you're just here. if dimensions were really a thing, which I believe it's been proved that we live in an infinite dimension existence, then, and it's not really a matter of the other dimensions being above, below, through, or anything. It's literally just kind of a concept that we can't really understand as four-dimensional beings. I believe that when somebody dies, their soul exists in another dimension that we can't conceptualize as four-dimensional beings. Now, when I grew up, whenever somebody would pass away, we'd have this ceremony where you'd burn money. Not real money, it's paper money that has like these little gold squares on them, and paper houses and paper cars, paper clothing. And the concept was that you would believe that burning these things would mean that you're sending these goods to the person that you love that's passed away's life in the afterlife. So say we burnt a whole shit ton of fake money, the person that passed away in the afterlife will be loaded. Say we burnt 5 articles of clothing, then the paper clothing, then the person that passed away in the afterlife will have all these beautiful clothes that were in the afterlife. I don't really believe in that either, and I don't remember what specific episode Alvin and I were talking about this on the pod, but there was this one episode where we joked about this concept of burning money for people in the afterlife. And imagine if you were like, oh my god, my ancestors took the money first, because it's a hierarchy thing in Buddhism. And oh my god, imagine if you burned paper clothing and in the afterlife the person that you love is like, this is still paper in the afterlife, why'd you burn me paper clothing, you're supposed to burn me real clothing, or this isn't my fucking size, or I still have to get a job in the afterlife. Oh my god, fuck. It was so fucking funny. I remember laughing so hard and telling the story about how, or this concept about how Buddhists believe in burning things as a ritual for taking care of someone in the afterlife. This reminded me of that podcast. So just listen to, I don't know, maybe like within 10 podcasts back, and you guys will hear us crackling up over this. But back to whether I believe in the afterlife and what happens when you die. Yeah, I believe that we exist as souls in some sort of dimension. The people who pass away are able to watch over us or see us some way, somehow. They can be very removed, or they can be more up close and personal, kind of like ghosts. But I don't believe that they fail to exist in the world. I think that my grandma that passed away when I was younger, I think that she's still here. And I don't believe in saying that, oh yeah, they exist right in your heart, they're right there always with you. No, I don't really believe that. I don't believe that she's in my heart. I don't believe that she's always with me. But I think she's, she's just existing as a soul somewhere, being happy. And I'm sure she can somehow see or still love the people in our family from wherever the fuck she is. But I think she still exists. And that goes with other souls that pass away. I think people still exist as a soul in some dimension. They could be in a faraway dimension, or they could be up close and personal, but they still exist. As for your body, when you die, you die. See ya, sucker. And when it comes to incarnation, if you become a soul after you die and you're like, hey, I kind of want to try to be a human again, then I don't know. You do some voodoo shit and come back. I've watched a documentary. I don't know if you could call it documentary if it has some woo-woo shit. But there are some stories that I've heard and have watched quote-unquote documentaries on, where kids that are reborn or okay, take away reborn. Kids that are born, sometimes they'll talk as if they lived a past life, and they'll give really specific details to places on Earth that they should know nothing about, that they shouldn't have been able to describe the setting for because they've never been there. The parents have never talked about it, but they're able to do so in very specific detail. And they talk about it as if, yeah, this was my past life before I became your baby. And I think maybe it's because I love tin hat theories and conspiracies and really diving into these kind of concepts. I think that's why I want to believe this, but I think that there's something really cool there. Like, I remember one of the stories that I heard was this kid, he kept talking about being born somewhere really far away, some other city really far away from the city that he was born and raised in. And he would say, yeah, I lived in this white house. It looked like this. It had this kind of structure. The stairs were around here. We had a porch around here. There was a beach nearby. I I got murdered on that beach or something like that. And my body is still around this area. These were the names of my siblings. And it was a really nice life until I died and I became a baby in your belly and you gave birth to me. And in that documentary, the mom went and followed the instructions of what the baby told them or the young child told them. Ended up in this beachside town, and they talked to a few locals there that were able to find the house that the baby was talking about. And it was exactly as the kid described. There was a portrait on the front, exactly how this kid's described. There was a beach nearby. The old owners of the house had the names that the little kid described, and when they looked at some of the history behind the people that lived there, they found out that, hey, there was somebody that died here the exact same way with the same name as what the baby said. Now, if that ain't some crazy shit, I don't know what is. And this is the kind of cool woo-woo shit that I like to learn about and I like to believe in. There's another one that I heard where sometimes kids, when they're born and they're able to talk, they'll say things to their parents to make it seem like they are the parents' great grandfather that just passed away, or that they're their parents' grandpa that just passed away, or their mom or their dad or something like that. Like, they'll say, oh, I watched over you when you were a little kid, you grew up so well. Or when they happen to stumble over old family photos, the kid will point to, say, the mom's grandpa and say, hey, that was me. That's me. My name is Grandpa Sam. And the parents will be like, what the hell? I never told you about my Grandpa Sam. How the fuck do you know that's Grandpa Sam? That is Grandpa Sam. Are you Grandpa Sam? Shit like that, I think is really fucking cool. And I think that there is some sort of possible reincarnation that can happen, but maybe kids kind of forget about it eventually, and I don't know, their new personality, new life, new identity slowly takes over whatever old memories were left over from the previous life. And I think there is something magical about babies in this sense too, where babies and dogs or animals can see ghosts way better than adults can. And then eventually I feel like that ability kind of goes away. And it is something that I kind of believe in, because I feel like as a kid, I used to see a lot more creepy shit with a lot of my cousins that were all the same age, not same, but around the same age as me. We had some pretty creepy shared experiences, but I'll touch base on that on another question. Now, the next question is, if you could time travel, where in time would you travel to and why? My answer to this is that I would travel forward in time. Let's say 5,000 years in the future. Now, the reason why I want to travel in the future is because, as some of you older listeners should know, I believe that humans will advance their technologies in so many incredible ways. And one of the biggest, most saddest, unfortunate things in my life will be that I will not live long enough to see how far humans can take their technology and what will happen in the future with our technology. Where will we travel to in terms of possibly being an interplanetary species? What technologies will we have developed? And exactly what inventions will be created that I can't even fathom right now. I would be so interested in seeing how all of this develops in 5,000 years and coming back to our present day now and being fucking mind blown of all the things that there is to come. And if there was such a thing as being able to put yourself to sleep so that you could eventually be revived again in hundreds, if not thousands of years in the future without any biological damage, yeah, I would so fucking sign up for that when I hit like 70. Just so that I can learn and experience all the future technologies that there is to come. So if I did have the ability to time travel, for fucking sure I would go in the future and look at everything that's been invented and developed, all the advancements in technology, and to see how far we've come as the human race. Not specifically for humans itself, but because of my interest in technology. It would also be really cool to see how medicine and technology combine, and to see how far humans have developed in the sense of like agriculturally, in terms of in medicine, sports. But the one thing that I'm the most fascinated about and most interested in would be science and technology and whatever inventions are created in the future. That would be fucking sick. That would be my number one answer. But if I were to pick an opposite one and go in the past, I would actually want to go back and see who built the pyramids. I've been reading so much about Egypt and the pyramids, and how some people think that the Anunnaki built them or some sort of other lost civilization built them and not the Egyptians, because the Egyptians actually never really talked about building the pyramids, even though they talk a lot about all the other things that they built. And there are no hieroglyphs in the pyramids. So I think it would be really fascinating to see exactly how the pyramids were made and what lost technologies did they use in order to have them created. There was also this artifact that was found underwater somewhere. I can't exactly remember the details, but they found out that it was an archaic computer. And when I hear things like this, it really sets up a light in my brain and I get really excited about it, because imagine having lost technologies back in the day and how far we would be now if these technologies were not lost. How the fuck did they build the pyramids? What are these computers, these old archaic computers that we are finding? How did these old civilizations map out exactly where the stars are and the exact weight of the planet, and are able to measure everything with technologies that we use today in order to find out how big the sun is, how fast the earth goes around the sun, the constant numbers for gravity and force, and things like that? How are all these things possible? I think it's really fascinating to think about this, and if somebody is able to uncover it, then yeah, that'd be really fascinating. I know there's also a book out there full of drawings, herbal drawings, and drawings of plants and animals that people aren't able to uncover and translate just yet. I think things like that would be really cool to know exactly where this book is, what civilization wrote this book, what are all the plants and animals that are written in this book, and the history behind it. Also, what are the heads in Easter Island about? I could go into a whole tin hand episode about all this shit, guys. But between my fascinations of all these mysteries in the past and all the possibilities in the future, I want to look forward. I want to learn about all the advancements that we have in the future and all the incredible inventions that come. So if I could time travel, I would 100% go forward and see all the beauties that humankind creates. All right, now this next question takes a bit of a turn and it goes in a completely different direction. These are Alvin's set of questions and they're all pretty freaking interesting. So let's say that you have an Apocalypse 8 team. It's 4 people plus you. You gotta survive for 30 days and you have to be realistic, but you can pick anyone that you personally know. All right, I've thought about this. I have my 4. I want to hear about who your other 4 are, but these are my 4, and they are these people. So it's 4 people and me. We gotta last 30 days, and this is my team. The 4 people are gonna be 3 guys, 1 girl, and me. The 3 guys are going to be Alvin as one of them. My reason for picking Alvin is I believe that he is a very intelligent person. If he's put in a situation where we are going through an apocalypse, he'll be able to figure out things that he doesn't already know. Like, he's very intuitive that way. If I have a problem, I'll find a way to fix it. And he knows a lot of random information about this, that, and there that I think that he'll be able to make really good decisions, and overall they'll be our best bet in whatever situation that we're in, regardless if it's a familiar situation or a completely foreign situation. I think that he has enough tact and wit that basic things in an apocalyptic situation wouldn't scare him. His mental and his soul wouldn't break easily. He wouldn't get scared easily, and he's not like princessy in the way that he wouldn't be a liability. He would definitely be an asset, and he would be able to help our little group survive this 30-day apocalypse. He also is physically fit. He goes to work out, so if we need to run or be on the go, his body will be able to handle it in that sense. He's healthy, so he won't be a liability in terms of health. And he's also not really a picky eater. So all those things I think would be great in terms of an apocalypse. So Alvin, I would pick you to be on my team. The next person I would pick to be on my team would be Rstar, because of pretty much all the same reasons, actually. I think that Rstar is also a very intelligent person. He's also fit, so he would also be an asset in terms of if we need to lift things, if we need to run fast, if we need to run away from something, or do anything like that physically. I think he would be good for that. I think that he's intelligent in the way that he would be able to solve issues, but also have a strong mental in the same way that Alvin does, and not break easily if something was scary or if we were in a stressful situation. I think that he would be able to hold the group together in a way that benefits us mentally and emotionally, and have everyone work together even when situations are stressful and rough. And I think that because he's such a fucking troll, with Alvin there too, it'll work really well to keep everyone's mental up. Now, my next person that I would pick would be my cousin Nathan, because Nathan, everyone on my team, I feel like I'm picking because I believe they're all really intelligent people. And I guess, yeah, everyone on my team that I'm going to be picking, everyone I think is very intelligent, and everyone is very resourceful, and everyone is very intuitive, even on subjects that they have no experience in. Everyone is a go-getter. Everyone loves to find solutions to issues that they need to find a solution to. Those are all the traits of everyone that I'm going to be mentioning in my group. Now, the next person that I'm picking is my cousin Nathan, because he also has that quality. I think he's a very, very, very intelligent guy. He's very naturally intuitive. He's very quick on his feet with thinking, and I think that's one of his star qualities out of everyone in the group. He's very quick at thinking about things, and he's very solution oriented. He's very smart. He also has a great attitude towards life and things, so he'll be able to carry the group's, not carry, but he'll be able to contribute positively to the group's mental and have everyone get along and have everyone work together well, even in stressful situations. He is also very laid back and very friendly and welcoming and very sociable. So I think that he shines in those aspects, but his quick thinking on his feet and how quick his intelligence is what I would say is his strong suit. He also is an active person, so he would still be a positive addition to the team in that sense. And yeah, another great addition to our team. The next person that I'm picking for my Apocalypse A team would be my friend Leia. So she is intelligent. She is so well rounded. She's bright. She's a sunshine. Literally, if you think of the personification of sunshine in a person, this is my friend Leia right here. She would be the person that would bring the team together. She'll have everyone feel like they're heard, their needs are met, that they're grounded and they're being taken care of. She is a very personable person, and she will make sure that everyone is heard and that everyone feels like they belong on the team and that their wants and needs are met. But she is also very good at setting her own personal boundaries and making sure that she is okay. And I think that is a huge asset to a team when somebody also makes sure that they're okay. She's incredibly kind-hearted, and she is so fucking funny. Like, such a amazing person to be around. Such a uplifting spirit. She would be amazing and a great addition to my Apocalypse A team because of all the things I listed, but also because she's a nurse. I think during an apocalypse, if you have somebody that actually knows about the human body and how to cure basic wounds, how to fix basic things, then you're set because you have a doctor, you have a nurse, you have somebody who's in the medical field on your team. She would be our healer. She would be amazing. She's also really freaking fucking fit. She runs, she lifts, she plays tennis. She would be amazing. Probably the best addition to the team. So Leia would for sure be on my team. And the last person is me. I think I would be, well, of course, I can't pick myself to not be the team, but I think my strength on the team is that I am also strong physically, so I can help with any lifting or anything. I am also fit, so I would be able to contribute in that sense. I know a lot about health and a lot of random knowledge about life and different things that we could encounter while we're trying to survive the apocalypse. I think I am also intelligent, so I would be able to contribute where I can. I love solving problems, and so I feel like that's a very well-rounded team to have during an apocalypse. I can run on very little sleep too. Perfect when you're trying to survive or an apocalypse, and maybe you're trying to run away from things or you need somebody to be a watch person at night. Let's do shifts, guys. I got it. Alright, question numero uno. Oh, shit, fuck. Question numero dos. It is, if you had kids. Now, Alvin, the way Alvin texted me this question, it's ambiguous, but I think I know what he means. The question is, if you had kids, would they be smart or good looking? Or would you prefer them to be smart or good looking? Now, I think this has to do with, in society, which one do you perceive as more valuable? And I think that in society, you'll be way better off if you're good looking over if you're not good looking as a girl. I'm sorry, but I think that's just how it is. You'll go further, you'll be treated better if you're good looking versus if you're not. But I also do find so much value in intelligence and being smart. So this is actually kind of a hard question for me. But if it was my child, then I would like to think that they'd get some decent genetics passed on, whether it's intelligence or their physical appearance. However, I think that your physical appearance is something that you're born with and not really something that you can fix, versus intelligence. To an extent, it is kind of natural and something that you're organically given, versus being smart and having knowledge. But you can learn from your experiences, and you can't exactly change how attractive you are. Even though plastic surgery is a thing, guys, not everyone wants to go through plastic surgery and fix their entire fucking face. So I would have to say that I would want my children to be good looking over attractive. I think you'll go way further in life if we were to tip the scales in a more extremist direction. I think you'll go way further in life if you're extremely attractive and dumb versus if you're extremely smart and unattractive. As a female, for sure. As a male, then I think the odds or the benefits between either or are a little bit more even. But as a female, I think the scale is skewed a lot more towards the physical appearance, unfortunately, provides you more value as a female than being intelligent. I think that's a very unfortunate way of thinking or concept, but I think it's very true in our society that you could be dumb and really attractive and you'll be perceived as having a lot more value than if you are extremely unattractive and intelligent. And unfortunately, I think that's how our society is, and so that is my answer. The next question is, if you could teach one subject in school, elementary, junior high, high school, and college, what would you teach in each of them? In elementary school, I would teach coding or psychology. I don't think you really learn psychology in elementary school, but I feel like I would want to teach one of the two. And my reason for it being is that you're a sponge when you're a kid. You will soak up knowledge. So I feel like it would be the optimal time to almost force feed you as much knowledge as you can consume and absorb. Concepts that are more valuable when you become an adult would be amazing concepts to teach as a child so that they're rooted in your knowledge base and you can add to it as you grow up. And so these concepts, I believe, should be harder concepts such as computing and coding. I think that if you're taught the concepts as a child, then your skills will only compound and become excellent by the time you really need to use it. And it's kind of like learning languages. You pick up languages so easily and a multitude of them when you're a child versus when you become an adult. It's so much more harder to grasp and understand and learn a whole new language. So if you were to teach the different languages in coding, I'd like to believe that as a child, you'd learn them so much more quicker and you'd be able to understand the process languages, the coding languages so much more quicker and more in depth and with more detail. And perhaps you don't go into the technology field, but I think grasping these concepts with how fast technology is advancing could be really beneficial regardless. The reason why I said I would pick psychology is because I believe that a lot of people aren't taught. I'm not saying I'm a know-it-all or that I'm an expert in the sense, but I believe that there are some concepts and lessons in life that even I think I learned way too late. And there's so many that I have yet to learn. And I feel like if we had a class like that in elementary school when we're still developing our character, when we're learning about how and what it means to be a good person, whether to your own definition or to society's definition, I think some guidance or some sort of concepts to self-reflect on when you're a child would be so beneficial. Like how do you define self-love? What are the values that you want in life? How do you want to carry yourself in life? Who do you want yourself to be in 80 years' time? When you think about who you want, say I'm talking to myself. I actually say this to myself a lot, and I've said this to myself a lot growing up too. And it was, who is Vivian to you? Who do you want Vivian to be? What are the characteristics that Vivian has? If you want that to be who you are, who you're known for, by the time you're 80 and you reflect back on your life and you think, yeah, that was a great life. I'm Vivian. I have these qualities. What are those qualities that you want? You want Vivian to be someone who's patient? Okay, then right now you need to practice qualities of somebody that is patient. What does that look like? What does their life look like? Okay, you want to be happy? What are the qualities that make someone's life happy? What do you define as happiness? When you see a life that is happy, what does that look like to you? And how is that person behaving? And what values are they carrying in life to be happy? What are they prioritizing? And what does their daily life look like? Do they stop and smell the flowers? Do they practice setting boundaries and making sure they're not a people pleaser? Little things like this, I think, are really important concepts to at least let a child know about and have them explore these concepts on their own and see what they would like to adhere to so that they can become what they define as a good person or whoever they want to be. And I think that having a sort of psychology class like that, I don't know if this topic is specifically psychology, but having a class like that when you're a child, I think would be amazing. Amazing to have while you're still developing your traits and qualities. And another great one would be, how do you communicate? How do you handle stress? How do you handle big emotions? Things like that. I think, how do you handle being responsible? Things like that I think would be amazing to be taught when you're a child. And I think that would be the great age to be taught those things, or at least be introduced to the concepts of. Now, what would I teach in junior high school? Same thing around. I'd be happy to teach psychology, to have those concepts. But the other thing I would have fun doing would be science. I fucking love science. And I loved science when I was growing up. My other favorite class was, okay, I love school. I was going to mention math in LA or language arts. But between the few, I would say science is my number one. I fucking loved it. I would be so happy to teach it, teach all the new concepts and make it so exciting and intriguing. Tell people, hey, this is how the world fucking works. If you look at something, science is attributed to a lot of things in making the world go round and making the world work the way that it does. And this is how it works. We all have human bodies. This is how the human body works. This is biology class. This is physics. This is chemistry. It would be so much fun to teach science. And in university, what I would teach is I would teach coding. It's what I took in university, and so I think I would be great in teaching at least the first year, second year, third year courses. I think I'd be able to teach that without a lot of stress, and it would be fun to expand my knowledge on this concept that I now know. I feel like if you're able to teach a concept, then you know it so well. If you're able to teach it and flip it inside out, outside, review concepts and answer questions and challenge concepts. So I would be happy to teach the first few years of comm sci and that. And now the last question is one that I said we would kind of go back to, and it would be, what is the most paranormal shit that's happened to you? Now, when I was growing up, as I've mentioned earlier in the podcast, I felt like I saw so many paranormal shit. I had so many paranormal experiences growing up, and these experiences were shared with my cousins. So we believed that my grandma's house on my mom's side was haunted in the basement. And we had 7 kids, 7 of us cousins that would hang out together all the fucking time and play together all the fucking time. And we've had so many shared stories where we would be like, oh my God, there's a ghost, essentially, here, there, wherever. Some of the stories I'll share with you guys today, I still remember it, not as if it was yesterday, but it's still fresh. And these are active shared experiences. So it's not like I was seeing shit. It's not like my cousins were seeing shit. We were all seeing shit at the same time and had the same reactions. There was no psyching anyone out. There was no rehearsed reactions in the background. Everyone had the same immediate responses. So I would like to believe these are kind of true. Now, the first story is that we were playing hide and go seek. A bunch of kids. We're actually all girls except for one guy in my group of cousins. And we're all playing hide and go seek. Even though we all believed that my grandma's basement was haunted, we were all like, it's fine. It's fine. Just don't think about it. If no one gets scared or creeped out, then at least it's our area to play. And so this one time we were playing hide and go seek, and I hid. My guy cousin was the one that was it. And you can tell a guy's feet and guy's body stature differently from all the rest of the girls. And so my guy cousin was it. He was upstairs waiting for us to say, oh, we're ready because we're playing hide and go seek, come find us. And me and one of my female cousins, we went and hid beside the washing machine. From our view, we can see into the next room through this vent that allowed airflow in between the rooms. So we were like, oh, this is a great spot because we can see there's a door that allows you to get into the room, obviously. And from that door, you can kind of peek and see if my cousin has come downstairs yet or not. Now, the way that we played hide and go seek is that the person that's it goes upstairs. They would count to 30 and come down whenever they're done counting to 30. There's no warning. You don't need to say, okay, I'm done counting. I'm coming down to find you guys. You just come down. So it forces the people that aren't it to find a spot, find it fast, and be fucking ready. Now, my cousin and I were like, oh my God, this is such a good spot because we can so see when our cousin comes down from this side, and we can so see if he's on the other side of the basement because we can look through this vent. And so we were hiding there, being quiet, just hanging out. And then we see these footsteps walk in front of the vent, on the other side of the vent, of course. And we're like, shh, shh, shh. Oh my God. Okay, he's in that room. I didn't really hear him come down, but he's in that room. Because when we saw through the vent, you could clearly see that it's a guy's feet and a guy's legs. And so we're like, okay, shh. He's in the other room. At least we can, relax a little. He's not in our vicinity. He's in the complete opposite room. A few seconds later, my guy cousin calls down and says, hey guys, I'll come down in a sec. I'm just finishing eating some soup. The second he said that, my cousin and I looked at each other. We knew what we saw. We saw a pair of guys' legs walk across right in front of that vent. We thought it was him because we only have one guy cousin. There's only one guy in the house at that moment. So the second my guy cousin said, hey guys, I'll be there in a bit, that means he's not there. We heard him call from upstairs. My cousin and I, without saying a single thing, knew what that meant. We looked at each other and fucking booked it upstairs. And the funny thing is, with me and my cousins, anytime anyone books it upstairs, we know someone has felt something creepy, seen something creepy. And so the second me and my cousin ran upstairs, all the other cousins just ran up too. They're like, we don't know what's going on, but we're fucking dipping. No one's staying down here alone. That was the creepiest, scariest thing growing up was I don't want to be the last person to run up those stairs alone. That experience would be one of the paranormal shit that I've experienced for fucking sure. Now, the other thing is, I remember this one time, me and my cousins were all sat up on the couch downstairs in the basement again. We're watching, I forgot which movie it was, but we were all watching a movie with me and my cousins. I was sitting at the very end because I was feeling kind of apprehensive about going down. I was like, I don't know, some sort of energy or something. Something feels a little creepy down there. I don't really want to go downstairs, even though everyone is downstairs watching a movie. And then eventually, my one cousin, like my oldest cousin, was like, oh, just come down. It's fine. We're all down here. And so I was like, okay. So I come down. I sat there at the end of the chair with my second youngest cousin. We're sitting there. And then I looked at her and I was like, hey, could you close the door? There's a door right beside the TV, and that door leads into that room that I previously mentioned. One of my cousins and I saw that pair of legs walking in. And past the TV, that room, pitch black. I just thought it was creepy staring into the black void. So I whispered to my cousin that was beside me, and I was like, hey, I'm sitting directly across from there, and it's psyching me out. Can you go close that door? And she was like, no, I'm not going to close that door. I don't want to go anywhere near there. And then we tried asking another cousin, like, hey, can you go close that door? It's kind of creepy. And no one wanted to go close it. So we're like, okay, we'll just pretend it's not like that. We'll just, control your mental. Don't psych yourself out. And then at one point, my cousin and I saw this lady, walk from one side of the door frame to the other side, like right into the wall, right through the wall. And I didn't need to say anything because the second I saw it, I was like, holy shit. And I looked at my cousin. She looked back at me. She is over a decade younger than me. She looked back at me with big round eyes, and we both just booked it. And the second we booked it, all my other cousins followed suit. It was like an unspoken thing. You see some shit, you feel some shit, you book it, we all book it. That was another one that I was like, holy shit, that is some freaky ass shit. Another one I remember is that same scenario. We were playing downstairs in the basement, and we were using a bed sheet as a sled. Essentially, we had all the older cousins holding the one end and pulling it, and had my younger cousin sit in a laundry basket on top of that bed sheet, and we were treating it like a sled and just pulling her around the basement. I remember at one point when we were pulling my younger cousin through that door frame that I was just mentioning, my little cousin, I think she was like 3 at the time, and the reason why that age, or that I want to highlight how young she was, is because she didn't know all the stories that we have known. She didn't know all the creepiness that we knew in terms of the basement. But she turned around and she was like, why is she riding with us? Or, I don't want her to sit with me too. And she pointed behind her. There was no one sitting with her. None of the older cousins were on the bed sheet. It was just her. And I remember when she said that, we all kind of looked at each other, and then I didn't want anyone to freak out. So I was like, oh, there's no one. Like, it's just you. Don't worry, you're light or whatever. And she was like, no, the little girl behind me, I don't want her to sit here with me. And the second she said that, I picked her up, and me and all my cousins fucking booked it. You don't joke about these things as a little kid. You don't say things just to freak people out, That was another one. The last story I'm going to share with you guys is another time me and my 2 youngest cousins were playing downstairs. We were playing house, and I remember my youngest cousin, I think she was less than 1, or she's probably 1. I was like, oh, pretend like we're playing a little village game or whatever. You have to go over there and pretend to shower. Okay? And when I turned her over there, she walked over there, took a few steps into that area. This is also in that same room I'm talking about, you guys. She walked over there, and then when she turned around and faced, it was a set of doors. She pointed and started screaming and crying. This was like a 1-year-old baby. And I remember the second she did that, I picked her up. Me and my other cousin just ran upstairs. Because we're like, I don't know what you fucking see. I don't know what's making you scream and holler and cry. And I don't want to find out. And these are some of many creepy stories that I have to share about my grandma's basement and that room specifically. They all happen in the same room and the same place, with multiple people having different stories and a lot of the same experiences. If that's not some paranormal freaky shit, I don't know what is. Now, I'm very excited to hear about all the stories and all the things that Alvin has to say about all these and any of the experiences that you guys have to share. Thanks so much for listening. I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys really enjoy my solo podcast, and we'll see you next week.